Don't look behind you. Right now, the room at your back might not actually exist. It could be nothing more than a swirling fog of quantum probabilities waiting for you to turn your head. What if the universe is like a video game, only rendering physical reality when a player is actively looking? You might think this is just science fiction, but it is the chilling implication of the most unsettling experiment in quantum physics. Today, we're going to dive into the dark reality of the double slit experiment and the observer effect. Together, we will discover if the physical world is truly real or just a terrifying illusion created the moment you open your eyes. To understand the terrifying nature of our reality, we have to go back to a deceptively simple physics test, the double slit experiment. Imagine a solid wall with two vertical slits cut into it. If you dip a paintbrush in red paint and flick droplets through those slits onto a canvas behind the wall, you know exactly what will happen. You will get two distinct red lines. That is how solid matter or particles behave. Now imagine doing the same thing, but instead of paint, you send a wave of water through the slits. The wave splits into two, the ripples crash into each other, and they create a complex pattern of multiple bands on the back wall. This is called an interference pattern. It is the signature of a wave. This is simple, right? But here is where the fabric of reality begins to tear. Scientists decided to fire electrons, the tiny solid building blocks of matter that make up your body, the chair you are sitting on, and the device you are watching this on, through those same two slits. They fired them one by one. Since electrons are particles of matter, researchers expected to see two distinct lines on the screen, just like the paint. But they didn't. Over time, the single electrons built up an interference pattern, a pattern of multiple bands, the signature of a wave. How is this possible? How can a single solid piece of matter go through a wall and interfere with itself? It implies that before hitting the screen, the electron wasn't a solid object at all. It was a wave of pure potential, passing through both slits simultaneously, existing everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
This made absolutely no sense. It broke the fundamental rules of classical physics. So the scientists did what any rational person would do. They decided to cheat. They set up a tiny measuring device, a highly sensitive detector, right beside the two slits. They wanted to catch the electron in the act, to peek behind the curtain and see exactly which slit the single particle was actually going through. They fired the electrons again, one by one. But the universe, it seems, knew it was being watched. The very moment the detector was turned on to observe the slits, the electron completely changed its behavior. The sprawling, ghostly interference pattern vanished instantly. In its place, on the back screen, were just two distinct boring lines, exactly like the physical droplets of paint. The electron had reverted to acting like a solid, ordinary particle. Let that sink in for a moment. The mere act of observation, just the presence of a device recording data, forced a wave of infinite swirling possibilities to collapse into a single, predictable physical state. Why would a tiny, mindless fragment of matter care if a camera is looking at it? It is as if the universe is hiding a forbidden secret, acting like a chaotic sea of phantom probabilities when no one is around, but immediately snapping into a rigid, physical shape the second you turn around to look at it. It is exactly like a video game that only renders the trees, the sky, and the mountains when you move your character's camera toward them to save processing power. But this raises a dark and deeply unsettling question, one that keeps physicists awake at night. What exactly constitutes an observer? Was it the mechanical, lifeless detector that forced the electron to choose a physical path? Or was it the conscious human mind that eventually looked at the data from that detector? If a camera records an event in an empty room, but no conscious being ever looks at the tape, did the event ever truly happen? Or did the room remain a blur of quantum potential? The implications are terrifying. It suggests that consciousness is not just a meaningless byproduct of the universe. If you thought the double slit experiment was a glitch in the matrix, it gets worse, much worse. In 1999, scientists successfully performed an experiment proposed by theoretical physicist John Wheeler, known as the delayed choice quantum eraser. They wanted to trick the electron. The idea was simple, but devious. Let the electron pass through the slits first as a wave of probability, and only after it has passed the wall, decide whether or not to measure which slit it actually went through just before it hits the final screen. If the electron had already gone through the slits as a wave, measuring it later shouldn't change the past, right? Wrong. The results shattered our fundamental understanding of time and cause and effect. When the scientists chose to measure the electron's path at the very last microsecond, the electron didn't just collapse into a particle at the moment of measurement. It actually went back in time and changed its behavior at the slits. It erased its own history as a wave and retroactively acted as a solid particle from the very beginning. Let that terrifying concept sink in. Your decision to observe something right now, in the present moment, can literally rewrite the past. Time, it seems, is not a straight line moving from yesterday to tomorrow. It is an illusion, a flexible construct that bends to the will of observation. This means that the history of the universe, the Big Bang, the formation of stars, the creation of the Earth, might not have happened in a fixed physical way until a conscious observer arrived to look back at it. We are not just moving through a pre-rendered world. Our very act of perceiving is reaching backward through billions of years of history, forcing the chaotic quantum mist of the early universe into a solid, definitive shape. If time and space are just malleable illusions that only solidify when we look at them, then what exactly is reality? Are you sitting in a physical room right now, or are you just a point of consciousness navigating an endless sea of digital-like data? The deeper we look into the quantum realm, the more it stares back, forcing us to question everything we thought we knew about existence itself. This brings us to the ultimate inescapable problem, consciousness. The von Neumann-Wigner interpretation of quantum mechanics suggests a deeply disturbing idea. It proposes that a mechanical detector cannot truly collapse a quantum wave function on its own. After all, a machine is just made of more atoms bound by the same quantum probabilities. The collapse, the moment when the abstract becomes physical, only truly happens when the information enters the mind of a conscious observer. In other words, human consciousness is the fundamental ingredient of reality. Dr. Robert Lanza took this dark implication even further with his theory of biocentrism. According to Lanza, the universe did not create life. Life and consciousness created the universe. The cosmos is not a cold, dead mechanical machine that accidentally spawned human brains. Instead, space and time are just the internal tools our minds use to put information together. So try an experiment right now. Close your eyes. When you're no longer looking, is the moon still up there in the night sky? Or does the entire universe outside of your immediate perception revert to a dark, empty ocean of mathematical probabilities? The screen in front of you, the walls around you, the city outside your window, none of it physically exists when you look away. The world is just waiting, suspended in a terrifying state of nothingness, eagerly waiting for you to open your eyes so it can spring back into existence. You are not a guest in this universe. You are its architect. You are not simply a tiny speck living in a massive, indifferent universe. You are the universe itself, consciously experiencing its own existence. Your act of looking gives meaning and physical form to the void. But remember, if the universe is always watching you back, but be very careful about what you choose to observe. If you want to survive the existential dread and explore more terrifying truths about our reality, subscribe to the Star Life channel right now and hit the notification bell. Leave a comment down below to confirm your own existence before the universe blinks and you disappear into the quantum mist. Until next time, keep your eyes wide open.